Hi, Claire from the Pilates Body Plan here, talking to you today about the best exercise to do during menopause. Now, I know you think I'm going to say Pilates. I am, but I'm going to talk to you about why, and also other forms of exercise, and maybe what you should avoid during menopause. Now, it becomes really important to exercise during menopause because from the age of 30 we can lose 3 to 8% of our muscle mass if we're not strength training. Now that can mean that we actually put on weight even though we're eating exactly the same. Half a pound of muscle burns 40 calories. So if you lose 5 pounds of muscle, that's 400 calories less a day you can eat without changing anything. And I get a lot of women saying to me, Claire, haven't changed my diet, I'm putting on weight. It's more than likely that. So we need to be strength training to avoid that weight gain, but also to help our bones. In the first 5 to 7 years of menopause, we can lose up to 20% of our bone mass if we're not exercising, and that can result in osteopenia, osteoporosis. These are quite devastating conditions that can affect our quality of life, so we really want to avoid that. So it's really important to exercise for bone health and to minimize weight gain. But what you'll also probably find during menopause, or what you may find, is that your pelvic floor function has got worse. That's because we've got estrogen receptors in our pelvic floor, in our bladder, in our uterus, everywhere in the body. And as estrogen levels decline, we can find that our pelvic floor function comes worse. Now, you really don't want to be doing exercise that aggravates the pelvic floor. I'll do another video on this in some detail, but you really want to make sure you're not aggravating your pelvic floor, because you could end up with a condition called pelvic organ prolapse. That's literally where your womb, your bowel, your bladder can head out down south, which we don't want. So the best exercise is going to look after all those areas. It becomes really important as well to exercise smarter rather than harder. You might be thinking, gosh, with all those conditions going on, I need to really, hit the gym hard, really exercise intensely. But estrogen also manages our cortisol levels. Cortisol is a stress hormone in the body, and it can actually cause you to gain weight or hold weight around your middle, as well as be predictive of lots of other conditions. Type 2 diabetes now is very associated with high cortisol levels. Autoimmune disease, thyroid issues are associated with high levels of cortisol in our body. So it's really key that we're not exercising in a way that raises those cortisol levels. And very high intensity training, lots of long endurance training can elevate those cortisol levels. So we want to exercise smarter, not harder. Also, over-exercising can actually cause a 3% reduction in our bone density, whereas moderate and good exercise can cause a 1% increase in bone density. So really, really key to avoid that 20% loss during the first 5 to 7 years of menopause. There's also want to make sure we're exercising so we're not increasing our risk of injury. Those estrogen levels in the body, as they drop, they affect the estrogen receptors in our joints, in our muscles. So you can find that you've got a few more aches and pains if you're not exercising, but also you might find your muscles are a little bit less elastic, and you don't want to increase the risk of injury. So how should you exercise? Well, the Surgeon General recommends 30 to 60 minutes of moderate exercise a day, and that should cover you. I recommend between a 10 and 30 minute strength training. Really focus on your strength training, and then any cardio in after that. For me now, cardio is walking. I don't do high impact anymore, because high impact, if you are having those pelvic floor issues, make sure you strengthen your pelvic floor before you go to any exercise that can aggravate that. If you're running, if you're doing high impact and you are peeing yourself while that's happening, please stop to avoid pelvic organ prolapse risk increasing. So you want to be doing something weight bearing, something to help increase our bone density. I love Pilates, I love bar workouts. They really, really help because you're upright, you've got the weight of gravity going through the spine, but any strength training is going to help. When you challenge your muscles, you challenge your bones. So focus on your strength training. Find a low impact form of exercise if you do have any pelvic floor issues. And you also want to avoid movements that can increase your risk of compression fractures, such as from osteoporosis, such as a lot of bending forward, a lot of crunches, a lot of cat stretches, rounding forward. That can increase your risk of compression fractures of the spine, so avoid that. Bar again keeps you upright. Look at exercises that help improve your posture, are low impact, are weight bearing, and that challenge your strength. And if you've got all those keys together, you should find that your exercise is helping you rather than hindering you. Now, there's tons of workouts on the Pilates body plan that help with that, plus a whole section on build your bone density if you are concerned that you may be at risk of osteopenia or osteoporosis. The link for that's below. Hope this has been useful. Speak to you soon.